Okay, so we're diving into Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's flow today. You familiar with this
Oh,
one?
absolutely. It's a
Yeah,
classic. Really digs into those moments when you're just completely absorbed, like you're in the zone. Time just kind of disappears.
totally. Those times when you're so engrossed you forget to eat or check your phone. I think we've all been there. But Csikszentmihalyi takes it a step further. He's saying these flow experiences aren't just enjoyable, they're actually key to a fulfilling life.
He's not just talking about fleeting happiness. He's arguing that flow states are where we find real lasting satisfaction. It's about the quality of our experience, not just chasing external rewards.
Okay, I like where this is going. But I have to admit, the concept of flow always felt a little vague to me. Like, how do you actually get there? Is there a formula?
Well, Csikszentmihalyi gets pretty specific.
Mm,
He lays out 8 key elements of a flow state, and it's not always what you'd expect.
8 elements. Okay, let's hear them. Give me the breakdown.
So first up, he says you need a challenging activity,
Hmm,
something that actually requires skill.
makes sense. You don't want to be bored.
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. He also says you need deep but effortless involvement.
Hold on a second. How can something be both challenging and effortless? Those seem kind of contradictory.
That's the million-dollar question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where a lot of people get tripped up. The key is that the effortless part doesn't mean the activity itself is easy. It's about how it feels when you're in flow. The effort is still there, but it's natural. You're not overthinking it.
Okay, so it's like that feeling of being in the zone where everything just clicks. You're challenged but not overwhelmed.
Exactly. And that sense of effortlessness comes from those other elements we talked about,
Yeah.
like having clear goals, getting constant feedback, feeling in control.
Okay, that's starting to make more sense.
Yeah.
But some of the other elements on his list still have me scratching my head, like loss of self-consciousness if I'm feeling self-conscious. Enjoyment is the last thing on my mind.
It sounds counterintuitive, I
Okay.
know. But think about it. When you're truly lost in an activity you love, do you care what other people think? Or are you just completely present in that moment?
Okay, I see what you're saying. It's like that feeling of being so absorbed that your ego kind of fades away and you're just purely focused on what you're doing.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect or impressing anyone else.
Yeah.
It's about that pure engagement with the activity itself. That's where the magic happens.
All right, that clicks. But I feel like we're still just scratching the surface here. This whole flow channel idea, the balance between challenge and skill. How does that actually work in real life?
Great question. Let's dive into that with an example. Csikszentmihalyi talks about this tennis player named Alex. So Alex,
Yeah.
he's a decent tennis player, enjoys the game, but he's not aiming for the pros or anything,
Gotcha. Your average weekend warrior.
pretty much. So Csikszentmihalyi says Alex finds his flow channel when he plays against someone who's slightly better than him.
Makes sense. Keeps him on his toes.
Exactly. Too easy, and he gets bored, starts overthinking his shots. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that.
But if the opponent is way too good, Alex just gets crushed. Doesn't even have a chance to get into a groove.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, the right level of challenge for your skill level at that moment.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is that this flow channel, it's not static. It changes as we grow and evolve.
So we have to keep upping the ante, always seeking out bigger and badder challenges.
Not necessarily.
Right.
Csikszentmihalyi argues that you can find flow in any activity, even ones that might seem kind of mundane at first glance.
Okay, now you're going to have to explain this one to me. What kind of mundane activity are we talking about?
He gives this example of a welder, a guy named Joe,
Hmm.
who found immense satisfaction and even joy in his work.
Wait, hold up. Welding, that's his flow trigger.
You'd be surprised. This guy, Joe, he was all about the details. He took pride in every weld, striving for perfection, even on the smallest jobs.
So it's like that old saying, the journey is the destination. It's not about the finished product. It's about the process of getting there.
That's a great way to put it. And get this, Joe didn't just find flow at work. He carried that same mindset into his hobbies.
Oh, really? Like what? I'm picturing tiny metal sculptures now.
Close. He built these elaborate rock gardens in his backyard with custom-designed sprinkler systems and everything.
Okay, now that's impressive. Talk about attention to detail. I'm starting to see the appeal.
It wasn't about the rocks or the sprinklers themselves. It was about the problem solving, the constant tinkering, the satisfaction of creating something complex and beautiful with his own two hands.
So flow isn't limited to our passions or hobbies. It can even pop up in those everyday activities if we know what to look for.
Exactly. It's a matter of perspective.
Really?
And the cool thing is, Csikszentmihalyi found this to be true across a wide range of professions. It's not just welders and artists who experience flow. He even talks about surgeons finding flow in the operating room.
Okay, hold on. Welding, I get. But brain surgery, that seems like a whole other level of intensity. Where's the enjoyment when the stakes are that high?
It's wild, right? But surgeons actually describe being so laser-focused during those critical moments that everything else just melts away.
I guess when lives are on the line, you don't really have time to overthink things, do you?
Exactly. The combination of their highly specialized skills, the intense concentration, the immediate feedback they get from every incision, it all comes together to create the perfect conditions for flow.
So even in those high pressure, high stakes jobs, it's still possible to tap into that flow state. Mind blowing.
It really makes you question what we consider enjoyable work,
Yeah.
right? Maybe it's not about the job title or the paycheck. Maybe it's more about finding those opportunities for challenge and mastery no matter what we're doing.
I like that. But what about those times when we're not at work or tackling some big project? What about finding flow in our downtime, in our relationships?
Another great question. And Csikszentmihalyi would say the same principles still apply. It's all about finding that balance between challenge and skill, shared goals, open communication, and mutual support. That's what creates flow within families, friendships, even romantic relationships.
So it's like finding that flow channel with other people instead of just within ourselves.
Exactly. Think about a group of friends jamming together, or a family tackling a DIY project. When everyone's in sync, contributing their own unique skills, working toward the common goal, that's where the magic happens.
It's like those moments when you're so in tune with the people around you that everything just clicks. You're laughing, creating, connecting. It's effortless. And before you know it, hours have flown by.
That's flow in action. And it's a powerful thing because it reminds us that we're not meant to go through life alone. We're social creatures. We thrive on connection. And those shared experiences of flow, they strengthen our bonds and create lasting memories.
Okay, I'm sold. But I have to admit, sometimes my ideal flow state involves a healthy dose of solitude. Like, just me, my thoughts, and a good book. Is that still flow if you're on your own?
Absolutely. Remember that solo sailor that Csikszentmihalyi talks about? He's out there on the open ocean, completely alone, facing all kinds of challenges. But he finds flow in the navigation, the constant adjustments, the quiet moments of contemplation.
It's like that sense of peace you get from being completely self-reliant.
Right.
No distractions.
Yeah,
Just you and the task at hand.
exactly. And Csikszentmihalyi emphasizes that these moments of solitude, they're not about isolation. They're about connecting with ourselves,
Yeah.
exploring our inner landscapes. It's where we tap into our creativity, our resilience, our sense of wonder.
It's like that saying, you have to be comfortable with yourself before you can be comfortable with others. Maybe finding flow in solitude is like laying the foundation for those deeper connections with the outside world.
Now you're getting it. And, it sounds like you might have a bit of what Csikszentmihalyi calls an autotelic personality.
An auto what now? Okay, that sounds kind of intense. What does that even mean?
Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds.
Yeah.
It just means you're naturally drawn to activities for the inherent joy they bring. You're motivated by the process itself, not just external rewards.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah.
like those times when you get so caught up in doing something you love that you completely lose track of time. You're not doing it for the recognition or the praise. You're doing it for the pure satisfaction of it.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, Csikszentmihalyi believes these autotelic tendencies can be cultivated. We're not just born with them. It's about shifting our mindset, paying attention to what truly engages us, and seeking out those flow experiences wherever we can find them.
So even if someone doesn't think they're naturally inclined to find flow, they can still learn to tap into it. That's pretty empowering.
It really is. Because it means that a more fulfilling life, a life filled with those moments of joy and absorption, it's within everyone's reach. It's not some magical ability, it's a skill we can develop with practice.
Okay, I'm convinced. But I have to ask, if we're constantly chasing this feeling of flow, are we missing out on the bigger picture? Does it actually lead to a more meaningful life? Or is it just about feeling good in the moment?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Hmm.
And I think Csikszentmihalyi would say that those seemingly small moments of flow, those times when we're fully immersed in an activity and time seems to melt away, they're not just about fleeting pleasure. They're actually building blocks to a deeper sense of purpose and satisfaction in life.
So it's not selfish to pursue these flow states, it's actually contributing to something bigger.
Exactly. By exploring different activities, honing our skills, challenging ourselves, we begin to uncover our passions, our values, our unique contributions to the world. It's in those moments of flow that we often discover who we are and what we're truly capable of.
Wow. So those micro moments of flow, they're not just distractions from the everyday, they're actually guiding us towards a life that is more authentic and fulfilling. It makes you wonder, What would happen if we applied these principles to society as a whole? What if we designed systems and structures that actually supported people in finding their flow?
Now that's an interesting thought. Imagine a world where education prioritized exploration and discovery over rote memorization, where work was structured to provide opportunities for challenge and mastery, where leisure was about active engagement instead of passive consumption.
It's a pretty radical idea when you think about it. Instead of just focusing on productivity and economic growth, what if we prioritized those things that bring people joy? What if we created a world where everyone had the opportunity to experience flow on a regular basis?
It's a beautiful vision. And who knows, maybe it's not as far-fetched as it seems. After all, the more people who discover the power of flow in their own lives, the more likely they are to create ripple effects that spread outwards, impacting their families, their communities, and maybe even the world.
That's an inspiring thought to end on. It's a reminder that even small changes, like finding flow in our own lives, can have a much wider impact than we might realize.
Absolutely. And maybe that's a good place to leave it for today, with that sense of possibility, that invitation to explore, to challenge ourselves, to find our flow and see where it leads us.
I love that this deep dive into flow has been eye-opening, to say the least. We've gone from welding to brain surgery, from solitary walks to family game nights, and somehow it all connects back to this idea of finding those moments of complete absorption that make life worth living. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the heart of flow. We'll see you next time.